Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Learning Love Podcast. My name is Dr. Mark A. Hicks, author of the book Learning Love. Love can be practical, tangible, and a realistic life for everyone, regardless of your relationship experiences so far. So, thank you for joining me as we spend some time learning love. Love is the answer. Now, all we have to do is explore all the questions. And today's question is, what do I do if someone I love needs to make a change in their life? I want someone to change. This can be a tough one. We all look at the people around us, maybe a spouse, romantic partner, family, children, friends, and we can see sometimes what's best for them. And we know they need to make a change in their life. So what do we do? There are some things you can do to help support people as they make changes. There are some ways that you might be able to guide some changes in their life, but there is a couple of things you need to understand. And one of the important things that everyone needs to hear very clearly is that you cannot change someone against their will. The only time a person will change is when they want to change. Only when they want to will they make changes, and even then it's difficult. Making changes is hard. We get into a pattern in life, we get into a way of doing things, and it's just hard to change. It can be done. Lots of people have changed their life for the better, but the people that have done it have chosen to make that change. You can't make someone change against their will. Let's think about it like this. What if you had, say, a spouse and you knew they would be better off if they lost, say, 15 pounds? They would be healthier, happier, they would have more energy. They've even said, I really should lose 10 or 15 pounds. They know they should do this. You look at them and you know they would look better, feel better, be happier, their clothes would fit better, they would have more energy, everything would be better if they lost that 15 pounds. And we know how to do that. It's not a mystery. Some things are harder to change than others. Sometimes we just don't know how. But when it comes to losing weight, we know how. It's not a secret. You eat healthier. Focus on vegetables, fruits, lean meats, things like that. Stay away from processed foods. Stay away from sugar. And then exercise. Move your body. Walk, jog, dance, whatever. Do something to burn those calories. It's not a mystery. It's hard to do. It's not easy. I struggle with my weight. I know that's not easy to do, but it's not a secret on how to do it. We all know that if you eat healthy and exercise, you'll lose weight. So let's imagine you want this for your spouse. You want this 15 pounds gone from their life so that they are healthier and happier with more energy and that they can be proud of this accomplishment. So you decide you're going to make them change. This gets into some serious problems. How would you do that? Well, I guess if you were going to make that happen, you would have to restrict what they eat. They would only be able to eat what you allow them to eat. You would have to restrict the meals around the house, but not only that, you'd have to make sure they didn't go out and buy things. You'd have to restrict their access to money or check the credit card reports to see what they purchased to make sure they didn't eat anything that you did not allow. And then you would have to make them exercise. Maybe you drive the car behind them while they walk or jog to make sure they put in their mileage each day. I hope you're seeing a problem with all of this. This is no longer a healthy relationship. This is like a parent parenting a child. This is like a coach in authority over a team member where these people have an authoritative relationship. That's not the same as a marriage. If we have that kind of dynamic where you are asserting that level of power over what they eat, when they eat, and how they exercise, you are now an authoritative force in their life, and that is no longer a healthy romantic relationship. That does not bode well for the health of the relationship. And if that spouse isn't wanting to make that change, isn't wanting to put in that amount of work and sacrifice to drop that 15 pounds, they're probably not going to do it. And you're just going to cause arguments and resentment within the relationship. So now we're to the question, then what do you do? If you can't make someone change, what do you do if you know a change needs to be made? Because there are some things that you may be 100% right. They have to change this. It needs to change. If we're talking about something that is truly dangerous, toxic, abusive, major drug addictions, alcoholism, things like that, a change needs to be made. So what do? You can't make them change. So what are your options? One is you can choose just to let it go. In the case of a person needs to lose a few pounds to feel better, be healthier, that really is not your call. If they choose to do that, you can support them certainly. If they bring up the topic, you can say, yes, I certainly agree that that would be healthy for you and I'd support you in doing that. But otherwise, you may just need to let it go. You need to pick your battles. Sometimes we think because it's best for them, we have to make this happen. No, you don't. Some things you can just let go and decide that's just not in your power. That's their decision, and there's nothing you're going to do about it. So let it go. People are not perfect. People have the right to be wrong. Let me say that again. People have the right to be wrong. People can be mistaken. They can make bad choices. There's limits to that, but if it's something that's not all that consequential, a lot of things in relationships can just be let go. Your next option, if you believe this really does need to be confronted, it's a big enough issue that it needs to happen, then by all means talk about it, but have some strategy. Because anytime you bring up something somebody else needs to change, they're going to react defensively. It's just the way we're wired up as human beings. We're going to be defensive when somebody says you need to change this in your life. And so maybe you get a good response, probably you won't. If you tell someone, I'm concerned about this issue, maybe they have some anger issues and they really need to get some therapy to deal with their anger issues. Well, if you bring that up, they're probably going to be angry. But it's also something that you might need to bring up because anger issues can destroy relationships and can do a lot of damage in a person's life. And so when you bring it up, understand they're going to be defensive. You need to remain calm and you need to react with compassion. You need to say things like, I know this is hard to hear. I don't enjoy bringing it up, but I'm really concerned about you. I'm saying this because I love you and I know this is a problem, and I want to help any way I can to address this problem. Keep coming back to words of compassion, that you care. Don't just start rattling off everything they've done wrong. Don't come with all of your evidence of how they have this anger issue or whatever the issue might be. Come with a sense of compassion. And be willing to have that conversation more than once. Because it's very likely they're not going to be able to process everything in one conversation. They're going to get defensive, they're going to cut things off, they're going to storm out or whatever. Be ready to come back to it over and over again, but give some space in between. Let a person mull it over, think it over a little bit, but just continually come back over and over with compassion. A professor of mine once said, when you're holding someone's feet to the fire, it's not the intensity of the fire. It's how long you hold their feet there. It's not the intensity of the flames. It's how long you hold their feet there. And so don't come with intensity. Come with calm. Come with compassion. But hold their feet to the fire for a long time and let them process this. And know that this is an issue that's not going away, that you're not going to be angry about it, You're coming out of love. When that happens, if the time comes they do want to make that change, they're going to know you're there to support them. They're going to know that you came from a place of compassion, from a place of love, and that you are there to help them, because you didn't come with defensiveness and accusations and with the intensity of flames. You just stayed in the discussion calmly over time. That's hard to do. You got to check yourself. You got to take some deep breaths and think through it. But that strategy, understanding that when you're holding their feet to the fire, it's not the intensity of the flames, it's how long you hold their feet there. Stay in the conversation over time, calmly and with compassion. And then finally, there is the option that that relationship might need to end. And that's the worst option, but it is an option. If a person has a major drug addiction, alcoholism, if they have anger issues to the point of being violent, if a person is toxic, if they are abusive, that's not a way for you to live. No one should live in abuse. No one deserves to live in a relationship that is abusive. And so you can try to have that conversation, but if it never works, you do have the option of not being in that relationship. That's going to cause grief. That's going to hurt, but no one should stay in a relationship where they are being abused. No one should stay in a relationship where they are in danger. And so there are degrees and levels that we have to assess when we see a change needs to be made. Some things are not that big a deal. They might seem important to us at the time, but we really need to assess these things and let some things go. Sometimes people are just wrong. Sometimes they have flaws. Sometimes people aren't perfect, and that's okay. We can just let that go. Other times, change really does need to be made, and we can talk with them, holding their feet to the fire, but not with the intensity and the heat of the flame, but how long we hold their feet there, how long we stay in that conversation with passion. And that doesn't mean just one long conversation. That means over the course of time, coming back to that place, repeating that conversation with compassion, with love, with respect, and with support. And finally, if this is a situation that is abusive, it is dangerous, and a change has to be made for your welfare, and that change is not being made, then you may need to get out of that relationship. Now, where is the line? How do you distinguish between something that could be just let go and something that really needs to be talked about? How long do you stay in that conversation before you make a decision that I can't be in this relationship anymore? How many chances do you give a person to get help before you say, I'm leaving this? There is not just one clear answer to that. And that's why if you're in a situation where your spouse or partner or family member or close friend needs to change, and you understand you can't make them change, you can only help if they want to, you need to see a therapist yourself. You need to get some counseling. You need to talk to trusted friends and family members that understand the situation, that can share some wisdom with you and help you find those lines. Because there is no clear-cut, this is what you do situation. When do you know when to let it go and when to confront it? That's a decision that requires wisdom. When do you continue to stay engaged in the conversation, and when do you say, this is it, I have to leave this relationship? That's a decision that requires wisdom. And wisdom comes from conversation with wise and trusted friends and family, and particularly get professional help. And especially if you're in an abusive situation and you're trying to make these decisions, get professional help. Get counseling to help you make those decisions. Change is hard. So make sure if you're in these kind of situations that you get the help you need. Thank you for joining me on the Learning Love Podcast. If you're ready to build your life with healthy, happy, thriving relationships, I encourage you to check out my book, Learning Love, Building a Life That Matters and Healthy Relationships That Last. It's available at Amazon, and you can find easy links on my website, markahicks.com. And remember, love is the answer.